kick it off with topic one. And this is one that as soon as the news broke, Matt and I texted one another. It's like, we are doing this. And
Yep,
this is what we're talking about. And we knew right away. So let's kind of get into it in this video and podcast, no matter how you're listening here. We're going to talk about how will Cam Newton do with the Patriots. So if you haven't heard the news, living under a rock maybe, well then Cam Newton is now a Patriot. And it's funny, as I was going over our first podcast, our first episode, we talked about how astonished we were that Cam Newton wasn't on a team. And we're like, it's going to happen soon. And then a few days after we dropped episode 1, this came out, and now we're going to talk about it. So as far as my opinion on this, how will Cam Newton do? I think we need to slow down this train a little bit, because as soon as he was sent to the Patriots, he signed, everyone was like, okay, the Patriots now are Super Bowl contenders. This is going to absolutely change the franchise. They are going to sweep everyone now. And my opinion was, okay, we need to slow it down. This was the right move, but we need to slow down. And I think we really need to break it down. You know, it's easy with Cam to go on a lot of tangents and talk about little things, but as far as why I don't necessarily think this makes them Super Bowl contenders or move the needle drastically, I think it helps them, but it doesn't make them Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion. So as far as why, the first thing, and probably the most important thing whenever you talk about the Patriots, has to be the Patriots system. And the Patriots system does not match the way Cam plays. You know, it's almost polar opposites. So if you've watched a lot of Patriot football, and since they've been winning a lot, you probably have been watching a lot in at least the past decade, this was an offense that was built for Brady. It is full of short slant passes. It's very meticulous. It's very detailed, and that is not Cam Newton. Cam Newton is not a very detailed quarterback. He is a show. He's fun to watch. Every time he steps on the field, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to be a deep 50-yard bomb, if he's going to sneak out, run outside the pocket. It's unknown and interesting, but it isn't this detailed side where a lot of rules and regulations. And then you talk about, okay, but can't they build a offense around him? Not necessarily, because I think they'll ask, all right, if it's not broken, why fix it? And I think that's something they'll see here. This has been proven. Cam Newton was great for a year or two, but as far as the Patriots, they've been good for a decade. Their system is more proven. Cam Newton needs to fit into the system. The system is not going to move for Cam Newton. And more importantly, Jarrett Stidham is there, and he knows this offense. It's a very tricky offense to understand because it is so detailed, and they're not going to change it that much for Cam Newton. And people like Jarrett Stidham. A lot of people on that team like Jarrett Stidham. Belichick seems to have kind of a sweet spot for Jarrett Stidham. They seem to be close. But as far as I think this system and its rigidity is just going to have a lot of issues with Cam Newton. And secondly, the thing that I think is very important to talk about with any team is they don't have that many weapons. You know, they don't have that many Pro Bowlers as they had before. When you look at someone like the Chiefs or even the Ravens, you know, who sent almost all their team to the Pro Bowl, those are good teams. This team isn't that deep. And that's part of the reason Tom Brady left. You know, he was in a lot of arguments with a lot of his teammates because they weren't quite living up to the expectation of the Pro Bowlers they've had in times past. And Tom Brady got out of there, and that's why he went to the Buccaneers. He wanted weapons, and he also looked at the Chargers because the Chargers got dudes on their team who are making Pro Bowls and who are being all over. And then as far as kind of the last two parts of this of why I think we need to slow the bus down a little bit with Cam Newton is one of the reasons the Patriots have been so good for so long is they just walk through the AFC East. The AFC East consists of 4 teams: Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. And if you look at the NFL in the past decade, it is harder to find a kind of collection of 3 teams aside from the Patriots that are worse than those 3. You know, they are always vying for almost that last spot in the NFL. But that is starting to change. You know, the Jets have some young guys. They got a few more guys in the Pro Bowl this year. And the Dolphins are certainly starting to turn around a little bit. And of course, with Tua, we don't know what's going to happen there, but they got some good guys on that team. And I think they've got a great team mentality and different things like that. And the Bills are probably the best team in that division as far as looking forward. You know, they made it into the playoffs. It was a close game in the playoffs. And I think Josh Allen was very he was very young and he did struggle in the playoffs, but he learned from that. And I think this is not going to be a cakewalk anymore as like it used to. So I think that's something to think about. And then other than that, the health aspect. I mean, you have to think, why was Cam Newton not signed? He went forever. Of course, we thought he should be signed, but he was not signed. And part of that was the health aspect. You know, he's had the foot injury, the shoulder injury. Where is he health-wise? And we don't know. I think that's why teams held off. This idea that, you know, Cam Newton is still this MVP caliber player and everyone just seemed to pass on him, that isn't quite the case. So I think it was the right decision, but we need to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I certainly think. I mean, I agree where you're coming from. I think a lot of people may have false expectations for this year. I mean, he is coming off an injury. I think that will affect his game. That's so. But I think they're actually Super Bowl contenders. I mean, look at they have one or top or second best defense in the league. Their defense was incredible last year.
Yeah.
And defense is obviously probably the most important dynamic in terms of a winning record. We've seen teams, you know, chug along with pretty terrible offenses, but really solid defenses and become a borderline playoff team. So defense is not an issue for the Patriots, and their defensive play calling is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Cam Newton was an MVP. He was an MVP for a reason. He's one of the better quarterbacks when healthy in the league. No question. Tom Brady last year was about equally good as Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not going to contend how good Trubisky is. I'll leave that up for you guys to decide. But statistically, his season paralleled Mitch Trubisky's. So replace an aged Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but not showing that last year, with a still relatively in his prime Cam Newton. And the system's set. Now they can run plays that they've never been able to run before. I mean, even Cam Newton was saying that now the Patriots are going to have a playbook that they've never been allowed to have before with Tom Brady, because Tom Brady obviously was not an athlete.
Not the most mobile quarterback we've seen.
Yeah, he's not running a quick 40. And then obviously Belichick. Belichick is arguably the best coach of all time. One of the best coaches of all time. Certainly one of the winningest coaches of all time. I get your point about the weapons. I think their weapons are a little lackluster. I mean, Edelman is aged. He's a little older. He still has game. He still balled out last year. He still is an incredibly talented slot receiver. But then what we didn't see last year was first-round pick N'Keal Harry. He sat out because of injury basically most of the year. So we really got a very small sample size. And he was a first-rounder for a reason. He provides what Edelman doesn't have, and that's athleticism. He balled out at ASU. Now we get to see that with Cam Newton. They also have two borderline Pro Bowl quality running backs with Sony Michel and James White, who are very talented. They're both pretty decent receiving backs as well. So you add this new dynamic of a running-based offense potentially with Cam Newton. He can break out of the pocket and go for 50 yards. You have two running backs who can both catch and run. And then you have the deep routes of N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman. And so now defenses are going to be left questioning whether or not they're going to run, whether or not they're going to pass. Something before, it wasn't really much of a running concern. They weren't still primarily pass-oriented. But now that changes. So I think defenses are no longer going to have the Patriots' number. They're not going to know what the ideal play call is because Cam Newton is such a versatile quarterback. So that's going to be really interesting. Cam Newton is just so damn good. He's so damn good. His MVP season was one of the most impressive seasons I've ever seen a quarterback.
That's unbelievable.
And so I'm excited for them. And then lastly, to mention the division, I'll give you the Bills. The Bills are a really impressive young team. Josh Allen, the best arm in football, probably. A little bit of an accuracy issue. He's got a cannon. He's now got Stephon Diggs. I mean, he made John Brown look like a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Right.
And John Brown, he's good, but he's not a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be exciting for the Bills. And the Bills' defense is also really stacked. So that they will give them trouble. So that's going to be their biggest obstacle. Not sold on Dolphins. Tua's young. Haven't seen him play at the pros.
Yeah.
It's record or history will tell you that a rookie quarterback is not going to lead a team that had a losing record to the playoffs or to the Super Bowl.
Especially against Belichick. Belichick has every rookie quarterback's number. It's intimidating to go up against that guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to Foxborough right now as Tua. And then the Jets, I don't even want to get started on the Jets. I am not a fan of the Jets. Not anything biased or anything against the Jets, but I am not sold on them having a winning record or being competitive in the slightest. I think Sam Darnold might be the worst starting quarterback in the league right now. He sees ghosts when he plays. And talk about a lack of weapons. Aside from Le'Veon, there isn't much. Their defense is suspect, especially with Jamal Adams wanting to leave. Not sold. Would not bet at all on the Jets making the playoffs or being competitive. So I think the divisions, there's still potential for Cam to shine in that division. And I definitely think they could be a Super Bowl contender. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. Cam Newton's still badass.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. And
yeah,
I want to see, I cannot wait for the first, 50-yard QB sneak.
Yeah.
Belichick's reign. He's going to be shocked too. I don't think he's used to this sort of dynamic with the quarterback. So
right, to be able to have the opportunity to see what Cam has, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of goes from there and kind of sees what happens there. And yeah, kind of as I talked about in the beginning, this was a good decision for the Patriots. There really isn't that much risk in getting him. He's being paid just over $1 million with $550,000 guaranteed. That is nothing. And if you guys heard at the beginning of the show when I was listing off a lot of the big contracts that are going on, this is a drop in the bucket. So part of us just feels bad for Cam. I think everyone is starting to like Cam a little bit. And a lot of
people passed up on Cam, so he's playing with a chip on his shoulder for sure.
Right, and I think a lot of that pressure's off because the whole franchise isn't now reliant on him. It isn't something where you have to succeed. He just got to play well and be healthy. This is a 1-year deal, and I don't think anyone 5 years down the line expects Cam Newton to still be on the Patriots. So he doesn't have to change an organization around. He just gets to go out there and ball. And
yeah, we've seen Cam Newton on a contract year before, and he's pretty lights out. So I think he's definitely playing with a chip on his shoulder. If I was him, I'd be pissed that a lot of teams passed up on me.
Oh yeah.
And I think he's going to go out there and he's going to show them why he was an MVP several years ago.
Yeah.
He's still got it. If he can throw to Blueface at UCLA's Drake Field, I think he can throw to N'Keal Harry or Julian Edelman.
Yeah, Blueface has got an arm too.
Yeah, that's a whole separate topic.
I know.
At high school ball, and he still got a cannon.
Yeah,
looking like OBJ out there too.
Yeah, and I think one thing that, going on that, and this actually roots off of your UCLA bring up, is one thing that I'm most excited for is it feels like with Cam has had this mindset shift. So if you go on Cam Newton's Instagram or any social media like that, there is a ton of videos that he's posting where he's working out, he's sweating, like this guy is putting in work, and he's talking about where his mindset is. They gave up on me, talking about the Panthers, and the Panthers treated him horribly at the end there, holding him out to dry, letting him go at the end. It was an awful situation there, and it sounds like he's ready to eat. He's ready to just give it everything he's got. I saw that black and white video that he posted the other day, dripping in sweat, doing some stairs up by Drake Stadium. And let me tell you, as far as someone who has done those stairs before, that is a workout. That guy's working hard out there, and I think it's a lot of fun seeing him at UCLA, in all the videos. I'll see it in the background. Makes me miss UCLA a little bit, and I think you can attend to that as well. Yeah, a little tear in the eye, but I think there's been a mindset shift for him, and I think one big thing was he said that they ain't never seen this Cam before, and I think we are super stoked to see what happens, and regardless of it's going to be fun.
I'm not even a Patriots fan, but I'm pretty fired up. I've become more of a Cam Newton fan, seeing the way he's handled this situation. So
I think everyone, a lot of people didn't like him at first. You know, he did have that somewhat cocky side to him. You know, he would wear a lot of outlandish outfits that a lot of people didn't like. Yeah, calling
Hey,
him.
he stays fitted. He's one
He
of the
does. He does.
best or worst dressers in the NFL. I cannot tell.
Yeah, the whole Superman thing, and I think a lot of people were put off by that. But you know, after he was treated horribly by the Panthers, a lot of people, you know, looked past on him, and I think people are feeling bad for him. So I think he's got a lot of people rooting for him. There aren't that many Cam haters anymore. There's a lot of people on his side, so it's gonna be fun.